End of the beginning, Chapter 3. Malum stared in shock at the Vorox that had just spoken. He contemplated whether or not to hurl another ball of fire, but the Vorox simply sat down and began fashioning the two teeth into a pair of hooks that he attached to his helmet. Malum broke the silence by saying, "How can you speak?" The Vorox glanced over at his two lesser Baron brethren and replied, "I pity them. When the world split, they were left without a leader to guide them, so they slowly devolved to the pathetic state they are in today." He grabbed a piece of snake meat and bit into it as he continued. "My name is Colas. I am one of the last remaining lieutenants of the Botan Sand tribe, thanks to a group of Toa who seem to defy death. And I am now also without a leader, thanks to them, which is why I sought you out. We have known of you, Malum. We have been waiting a long time for our old leader to die, so that you could replace him." Malum looked suspiciously at the Vorox and said, "So where exactly is this Botan Sand tribe you speak of?" The answer was not given by Colas, but instead it was given by 36 Vorox armed to the teeth as they emerged from the sand behind him. Malum let out a raspy laugh as he looked upon his new army. Akamu glanced up as Damek came up behind him. He felt the cold chill of night over him. It was 10 times worse than the heat that marked the day. Damek pulled out 2 light stones and tossed one of them to Akamu. The 2 Matoran glanced over their shoulders as Puku came up behind with Maidak, Kiwi, and Amaya all sitting on her back. She didn't even look tired. Damek exclaimed, "What are they doing here?" Maidak replied, "They said they wanted to come along." Before Damek could reply, the conversation was interrupted by a voice from above yelling, "Look out below!" Moments later, a massive machine-like thing crashed into the ground several bios in front of Peachy. A Lematoran who wore a lime-green Kanohi Akaku emerged from the pile and said, "Hey there, sorry about that. I guess it needs some adjustments. My name is Kayur, by the way." Akamu replied, "What is it?" The Matoran of Air answered, "It's a creation of mine. I call it the Flyer. It's basically an airborne version of the Boxer vehicle designed by Nuparo back when he was still a Matoran. I was taking it out for a test ride. I guess I got a little, excuse the pun, carried away. And who are you, if I may ask?" Akamu said, "I'm Akamu, the new chronicler, and these are my friends Maidak, Damek, Kiwi, and Amaya. We're on our way to New Tessara." Kayur dipped his head and said, "It's nice to meet you all. Do you think I could get a ride with you back to Tessara?" Akamu nodded, and Kayur hopped up on Peachy's back. The Animatoran chronicler said, "What about the Flyer?" Kayur replied, "Oh, I'll come back for it in the morning with Toagaro. I don't want to be any more trouble to you guys." The 3 set off again towards Tessara. As they went, Akamu asked, "So why don't you use tree speak?" Kayur sighed and replied, "I'm an engineer at heart. Can't stand the awkwardness of the sentences, so I stopped using it long ago." Akamu said, "How much farther is it? I've never actually been to New Tessara, even though most of the Animatoran were there originally during the construction." Kayur replied, "Probably another hour's worth of traveling, as long as the Usul can keep this pace up." Akamu said, "Yes, they should be able to." Kayur asked, "So why are you going to New Tessara anyway?" Akamu paused, unsure if he should tell him, but then he realized his caution towards the Lematoran was unnecessary, and he replied, "There is a murderer, traveling to each of the villages, killing specific Matoran. We have reason to believe that Orcom and Eri are next." Kayur gasped, "I know Orcom. Not exactly the most talkative guy, unlike most Lematoran, but why would somebody want to kill him?" Akamu said, "I'm not exactly sure, but there seems to be a pattern to the killer's targets. All of them are connected to the old legends of Metronui." Kayur's eyes widened as he said, "You are referring to the 6? Akamu nodded, and Kayur continued, "Then I think I know why they are being targeted." Malum placed his helmet over his head. Not only had he been given an army, but he had also been given a new set of sandy-colored armor by Colas to match the rest of the tribe. The only thing he had kept from his old set of armor was his helmet. which had been given a new tan paint job so that it would match the rest of his new armor. The Thornax launcher on his shoulder had been replaced by a spear launcher that apparently fired raw energy. "And all they want in return is for me to lead them," he said to himself. The first thing he wanted to do was attack those Eikonox and Tessara Glatorian and make them pay for killing his old tribe, but he knew he couldn't. "No, not yet. The time will come to conquer, but first I must prepare, or I will lose again. Yes, I must get ready, and when I strike—" He paused to let out a laugh, and then finished, "None shall be left standing." Akamu stared at Kaioru in shock. "What? Why?" said the chronicler. "I saw Oricom in his hut a few days ago," said Kaioru, and he continued. "I couldn't help but overhear him talking to Eri and Ice Matoron. They talked for a while about some stones they had found on Matanui, before he awoke again. After a while, I figured out they were talking about Toa stones. They mentioned not being able to use them now that Akmo was gone, and then Eri left." Akamu just sat as it all sank in. The Tamatoran murderer was after the Toa stones, but why? To be continued.